Okay, zoology people, here to continue forward with the mollusca category or phylum. So up to this point, you should be familiar with the overall characteristics of phylum mollusca. So that soft body, that visceral mass, we know some of the open circulatory system. We got into some overall characteristics from the previous lecture, so be sure and look over that. We covered one of the classes, the Polyplacophora, the chitons. Now we move to a more common, more typical representation of the molluscas, which are the bivalves. And I'm pretty sure you're familiar with these: oysters, clams, mussels. Here in El Paso, we know these as food sources, right? So maybe you have that Theo that likes those raw oysters, or if you go to Boston, maybe you get some clam chowder or something like that. So again, for food production or food source, and in the sort of the realm of jewelry, that kind of stuff, they're known for the production of pearls as well. So a simple type of feeding strategy that they have, they basically just sit there, they siphon in water, they filter the water, and then they kind of release that water out. So it's we'll call it filter feeding strategy. It's simple for them. It enables them to survive, and they've been doing that for a very, very long time. So one of the key characteristics of the bivalve class is the actual shell. So the shell is secreted by the mantle tissue, and it basically, when we look at the shell, basically, it grows from what we call the umbo. I think I have a picture a little bit later. And it grows in sort of size and thickness at the same time. So I don't have a good picture to show that here, but here's that texture of the inside. We call that nacre, or mother of pearl, sometimes they call that. So there's the mantle tissue that actually secretes the shell. So again, increases size, both diameter and thickness at the same time. So that's an important characteristic. When they are closed, they basically can attach. They close and they can open, sort of hinge on one side. When they open, their foot extends and allows them to kind of crawl. When we talk about the actual production of this nacre layer, the mother of pearl layer, that is what is basically producing the pearls. So a pearl is initiated by some sort of a little piece of pebble or some little irritation on that mantle layer, and it's basically like a callus. It produces that layer around that that thing that's not supposed to be there, basically. So there's that pearl. So in the center of every pearl, there's some sort of little object, a little irritant, or a little artificial stimulant to encourage the mantle to produce that pearl. So it's again, big industry in some of these coastal or island type of economies. I've never found one naturally in the wild, but if you go, and I guess, statistically, if you open enough of them, there's a chance that you could find a pearl. There's, again, the black pearls. This is an actual artificial farming of pearls. So we have farmers that raise cows. We have farmers that raise corn. We have in the world now farmers that raise oysters for pearl production as well. So here's the umbo. That's the little, basically, when the size that the clam started out as, and kind of like a tree, it adds new rings as this thing grows and expands. There's the foot extending out. If you capture one of these, maybe you want to open it, maybe for a dissection or for edible purposes, you have to find these adductor muscles, which would be like right here, right there. And that's what holds the shell closed. If you sever those, there's two. We sever that muscle, and then the shell cannot sustain its closed position, so it will open. Just some gills, the filter feeding network as well, circulatory network, the open circulatory network. So again, we see the heart. We don't see a complete system of vessels. It's an open circulatory system. Here's the gills, the foot that can extend out, the mantle tissue, which will generate the shell production. And again, if you are the fan of raw oysters, basically that's what you eat. They eat everything, right? So all of these aspects. Here's the adductor muscles that have to be cut, adductor muscle that has to be cut in order to open up that shell. So again, just life cycle, different larvae forms, and then the sort of the adult form there. I'm not going to get into all the life cycle discussion, but so clams can range from small size to, again, the giant clam, showing you kind of a size reference. There's a human, and again, these things can get quite large. So with that, again, I'm going to conclude the discussion on snails. There are some other interesting species, some very, very venomous species, the cone nose snails. Oh, sorry, jumping ahead. So I'll get to the snails in a bit. So with the bivalves, I'm going to stop it here, and then we'll continue on with the snails.